Hello and welcome to Business Unusual. This is where we talk matters kingdom business. And today we want to look at the nature of mammon. We want to understand how to interact as kingdom business people without allowing mammon to control our lives. My name is Susan Opio and my co-host
Charles Opio.
Now today let's look at the nature of mammon and let's understand how mammon manifests in our lives.
Absolutely. We've been actually describing how mammon rearranges economic order.
Yes.
Where we end up in a place where we are pushing for money, but we are killing creativity. And in the end, only the creative remain wealthy. The rest chase money. And
that is now a mammon-pushed business.
Absolutely.
Where we end up loving money more than even creativity.
Exactly.
And when we talk about loving money, we are going back to Timothy. It says that the love of money is the source of all evils.
Exactly.
Now, when you talk of that, do you even see increase in evil?
Exactly. You see, and you see the driver, when you love money, you become the center. When you become the center, money becomes the ultimate output. And yet what is funny, even the people who supposedly chase money, when they do get money, they are still subject to the creative.
Oh, yes.
They end up spending the money on what the creative people have done. So in the end, the people who really benefit.
So the creatives.
Absolutely.
So God created us creative. God expected us to be creative like He is.
Exactly.
He expected us to be innovative like He is. That's the mentality of a kingdom business person.
Yeah. And you know my favorite, one of my favorite scriptures is Bezalel.
Yes.
And the why that is my favorite is because when you look at what is called the law of first mention in the Bible, when something is first mentioned in the Bible, it's crucial to see the first time you see that mentioned. So let's go back first of all to creation itself.
Yes.
When God is creating the earth, there's an interesting pointer. And the Spirit hovered over the face of what was called the formless.
Yes.
And I'd like to say something. If God is creating the earth, and the Bible says when the earth was without form, it doesn't mean the earth was shapeless. It doesn't mean the earth was shapeless and broken down.
Confused.
No, it means the earth had not taken shape yet. So you must understand the writer. The writer is saying, from hindsight, because the writer is Moses, I know God created the earth. But at that time, the earth had not yet appeared.
Maybe a good example here to say what you're saying is that if you get a job in a company, but you've not been given your definition of what you're supposed to be doing in that company, if you report on a Monday morning, but you do not have job description, you're without form and void.
Thank you.
You cannot take shape in that company. You cannot take form in that company until they tell you you are the director of this or the operations manager. The minute the operations manager has been pronounced,
then you take shape. So if we understand that, the Spirit hovered over. In other words, God is about to create. And every time He wants to create, who shows up?
The Holy Spirit.
So what is in God's mind then takes shape. All right? Now, fast forward, Bezalel. God tells Moses, go to Bezalel. I have filled him with my spirit and I have filled him with skill, ability to create. He is skillful as an artisan. He will create these things that I am telling you. And that gives us a picture that a God-given idea is always connected to a skill set. All right? In other words, when God gives you an idea, it's supposed to be locked within your skill set. You're supposed to be also filled with God's Spirit to create that thing. Now, whenever you're pursuing money, you kill creativity.
You don't even see what God is telling you.
So what happens?
You don't even see the design.
Yeah, you get an idea and you're already thinking, how much can we make with this? Who can buy this? You've already killed creativity. The spiritual factory has stopped working.
And every time a creative comes to you and tells you, now we need to do this thing and this, you feel almost like you're wasting time. We should be making money.
Exactly.
Killing creativity.
Not knowing that God's creativity is superior to money. So the minute you sit down and focus on the creativity, it will attract the money it needs. It is superior.
Actually, the season we have entered into is a season of creativity.
Absolutely.
We're in a season when if you're a person of point A to point B, just know. Just a matter of time. You're actually right now operating on momentum.
Now
you're on your way out.
Yeah, we spoke about the end of routine and the beginning of humanity. What does that mean? God is tired of routine. He never created anybody for routine.
Yes.
God never created you to wake up in the morning, brush the same things, do the same things, go back to sleep until life ends.
Yes.
God wanted you to create. So the robots are releasing us for creativity.
Yes.
But if you're not creative, you will hate the robot because it is stealing your routine.
Yes.
That's the mentality.
So the robots are here to continue with the routine.
Yes.
But when you talk of the era of humanity,
yes,
is where man does things that robots can never do.
Absolutely.
So what is that creative thing that you can do? Because man is continuously thinking, coming up with new ideas, a robot cannot.
Exactly.
So when you talk about AI
yes,
and IA, all these things, man cannot be replaced if you are creative.
Now listen to what we normally say.
Yes.
We say when machines come and robots come, jobs will be lost.
Yes.
If we are to study the jobs that will be lost, all of them are uncreative.
And they better be.
Simple.
They better go.
In other words, Mammon wants slaves and servants.
Yes.
Slaves are people who are locked in jobs with a certain amount of money, their lifestyle already pegged at a certain level.
Yes.
Nothing will ever change except for a certain few at the top, and they will never ever access their creativity.
I like what you just talked about slaves.
Absolutely.
Because a slave has a routine.
Absolutely.
A slave is not allowed to think.
Yep.
So if you're in a business where you're not thinking, you're a slave to Mammon.
Yes.
A slave to Mammon.
Exactly.
Because Mammon is all about self-destruction.
Simple.
He will not allow you to be creative.
Exactly.
So self-destruction, and the first thing, how to destroy yourself, is lack of creativity.
Exactly.
Now, let's look at this nature of Mammon and say that the first thing, when you look at Mammon, the first thing you realize is that Mammon's intention is to control your heart, your love, and your loyalty.
Absolutely.
Nature of Mammon. So when you talk about Mammon, that's the intention of Mammon.
Yeah. See, how does that work?
Yeah.
Once I believe money equals life, you've got me.
Okay.
My life, my loyalty, my focus, everything. I will do everything possible to get the money. I will even do something I hate.
Just to get the money.
To get the money, because now I have realized without money, I am finished. That is why when somebody hears they lost a job, literally, people die.
Yes. Depression sets in.
Absolutely.
How many people are sitting down wondering? I mean, you've just said a statement.
Yeah.
That when I hear money gone, I hear life gone. How many of us equate money to life?
That's it.
What does that mean? When you want your rent paid or transport, you say, I need money to pay rent.
Yes.
Not I need rent.
Yes.
There's a very big difference of going to God and saying, I'm praying for rent and I am praying for money for rent.
Two different things.
God tells you you're looking for rent, not for money.
Yep.
Because God can pay your rent in different ways.
Yes.
So how many people equate money to life?
Exactly. And now that, like Timothy says, becomes the source of evil. Now this is interesting.
Yeah.
That love, that pursuit, that desire to have money will always trigger evil. This is interesting.
Yeah.
It triggers evil because what do we end up doing? Let's look at every domestic violence. Now people say all sorts of things to domestic violence.
Yes.
Domestic violence, at the root of it, love of money.
Oh, yes.
At every other thing, love of money. So it doesn't matter how you look at evil. You will always track it back to the trust in money.
Trust in money.
Yes.
Love of money is the trust of money.
The trust of money.
Yes.
In other words, if I'm working so hard as a father, all right, and this money is supposed to take care of my family, all right?
Yes.
Then one of my children steals that money. I'll kill him.
Yes, we have seen that happen.
It happens.
It has happened.
Why? Because this is life. That's the problem. But now, a whole new game comes. The enemy wants what? The second thing Mammon wants? Slaves.
Yes.
Slaves and servants. Meaning, once you're in a routine, like we said earlier, once you're working in a certain environment, so that your life is permanently locked there.
Yes.
Because, and what keeps you locked there? Listen, everybody says that we have terrible employers. People say we have terrible wages, we have terrible all those things. No. We just have people bound.
By Mammon.
Because nobody tells you must wake up in the morning. Nobody tells you have to go.
Yes.
Nobody says if you don't come, you will see. It is you realizing if I don't go. That's how powerful Mammon has become.
So we are saying that the first thing is that we are talking about the intentions of Mammon.
Yes.
And we are saying that the first thing is to realize that Mammon's intention is to control your heart, your love, and your loyalty.
Yes.
The second thing is that Mammon is looking for slaves and servants.
Yes.
Looking for slaves and servants.
Absolutely.
So when we talk about you loving money, just know one thing. Yeah. You're taking yourself into slavery.
You will be a slave.
You'll be definitely.
You will be a slave. Yeah, if money is what you trust,
yes,
you will be a slave. Because you trust money more than you trust your creativity.
Yes.
You trust money more than you trust God. And that's why people will tell you, me, I'll do any job.
Anything. Now, notice something when we talk about slaves. When you say Mammon is looking for slaves,
yes,
what does a slave live for?
Exactly. A slave lives for survival. What you call just managing. Enough to eat, to sleep, and to live.
Yeah.
In other words, a slave's life is already preset.
And Jesus said it in Matthew chapter 6.
Yes.
That do not worry, saying, what shall we eat? What shall we drink? What shall we wear?
Exactly.
Those are the questions of a slave.
Yes.
And Jesus is saying, listen, if you follow Mammon, remember he's just talked about you can't serve two masters.
Yes.
God and Mammon.
Exactly.
You serve one.
Yep.
Then he tells you, if you serve Mammon, you'll always ask one question. Yes. What shall I eat, drink, or dress?
Exactly.
If you're asking those questions, you're already at the trap of Mammon.
Yes.
Living, when you work and all you do, work for 30 days, at the end of the month, you're paying where you sleep, what you eat, and what you wear.
Yes, now,
basics.
It's important at this point for us to say something because, again, Mammon will play you the same game. Mammon can swap you from one slave master to another.
Yes.
Okay? In the name of improvement.
Okay.
Okay? Now, and one of the things we have to look at is so many people are falling into the trap of what is called multi-level marketing.
Okay.
And in the name of, I'm leaving slavery.
And I'm going to be my own boss.
Exactly. The deception that you're about to become your own boss.
Yes.
The deception that you're living, working for someone else, you're going to work for yourself. Truth be told, you're not going to work for yourself. You're just changing your master, but the other master has used your love of money with a higher incentive.
Yeah.
You get? He's offering you a higher incentive of your love for money.
Yes.
He's telling you, listen, here you will only make so much, no matter how. In fact, listen, we've been through these processes. We've had all the presentations. The mathematics is powerful. If you do only this for the next 30 years of your life, this is all you will ever earn. But if you come into this and do this within this amount of time, you will have reached here. So what's being sold to you? The same idea at a higher level.
Yes.
In other words, listen, slave, you've been working many hours for little. I want to give you more hours for more.
For more.
And you think you're being given less.
Yes.
So in the end, you double your workload and nothing really changes.
And if you want to see Mammon in that example, because somebody would be saying that this is what I do in life. Notice the one thing multi-level teaches you.
Yes.
That every person is a sale. And if they're not a sale, get out of their lives. So you don't associate with people. You no longer see people as friends,
you see them as trees.
Family. You see them as trees. Your source of life. That is where your source of money. And if I can't give you a client or a lead, we don't have anything in common. Now that is Mammon.
And if I don't buy from you and I buy from another,
we are enemies.
We're enemies.
So notice how Mammon is behind it in the name of money. And this is just multi-level.
Exactly. Every other thing. Now, this is the balance. People always ask, what is the difference between riches and wealth? All right?
Yes.
In the same context. The rich, listen carefully. To be rich, you need slaves.
Yeah.
To be wealthy, you need workers. That's simple.
Yes.
So, somebody, in other words, there are people who you can work for and still be working. You're not a slave.
Yes. And get into wealth.
Yes.
Yet you're working for another.
In other words, Mammon wants slaves. How do you know you are not a slave? Yet you're working for another. Because the Bible itself says you're not faithful with another man's. So God is okay. Listen, Joseph technically was working for Pharaoh, but he was the wealthiest man. Daniel was working for Nebuchadnezzar. He was the wealthiest man.
Jacob.
Exactly. So God is not saying that wealth means you must be independent.
Yes.
Not everybody was skilled to be independent.
Yes.
There are those who were skilled to be the person that makes others wealth. There are those who have to work inside something else
and they
to make
go into wealth.
Yes, you need to be clear that there's such a thing. And that's what we're talking about, what is about to emerge.
Yes.
A kingdom community that you can work for and still make wealth. A kingdom community you can work for and your family is intact.
Yes.
A kingdom community you can work for and everything around you is as great as if you are working for yourself.
So look at it this way. There's a Joseph who Pharaoh needs.
Yes.
Without Joseph, Egypt is finished.
Exactly.
But there is also now the slaves in the same Egypt.
Yep.
When they overstayed, they became slaves.
Exactly.
Now, are you a slave or a Joseph wherever
in Egypt.
you are?
Yes.
So you have to ask yourself, if you're a slave, you're working for Mammon. Be a Joseph in that system that tells you, I am here to implement something that I have seen in the mind of God. When Daniel was with Nebuchadnezzar, he was qualified, he was tested, and he was found fit.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, God gave him wisdom. So if you're working in a company in the world and you're not bringing kingdom wisdom, you are only a slave on a higher level.
Exactly.
Yeah?
Now you'll understand that Mammon, of course, intends to replace God in your life.
Oh, yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's actually the third thing. It intends to replace God in your life. But listen carefully. The Bible says, whatsoever you find your hands to do, do it as unto the
Lord.
Now, this is the key. The key is, God is saying you can work for another as unto the Lord. Meaning, what does unto the Lord mean? Use the same level of creativity, bring the same level of skill, the same level of ability in that place you've been placed, and you will increase anyway, even though you're in another's. So, listen, and I think we have to reiterate this.
Okay.
Mammon has played a trick across the nations. And many people have left places they should have thrived in abruptly in the name of starting their own.
And starting their own is because I don't want to be subject to another.
That's all.
I like what the centurion said. I am a man under authority.
Under authority.
There are many people who don't want to be under authority.
Thank you.
There are many people who are lazy.
Yes.
There are many people who cannot take instructions.
Yes.
These are the kind of people who want to go and start their own.
Exactly.
Not because they are creative.
No.
Not because they are called.
Yes.
Not because they have principles.
And so they end up crashing desperately.
Oh, yes.
Because you have the wrong idea about the gift you have.
Yes.
You see, there's this mentality that, you know, it is my gifting that is making the company run.
Yeah.
That may be true. But let me tell you,
Yeah.
without the company, your gifting won't run.
Yeah.
So, you get the idea?
Yes.
It's because of my gift.
That the company is.
Yes.
So when
Laban
I work for
said
you, and I feel like, wait a minute, there are two kinds of people.
Yes.
The Jacobs,
who
because I'm working for you and I'm connected, aligned to God, your company thrives.
Exactly.
I mean, Laban is a poor employer.
Yeah, yet he said, but he said, he admitted.
But he knew.
He said, for I have perceived the Lord has blessed me because of you.
Can we also say, using that example, God does not take you necessarily to good employers.
Never.
But because of your presence in that company, they thrive.
Exactly.
That is Jacob.
Without Laban, Jacob would not have known how gifted he was.
Yeah.
He required to be under Laban.
Yes.
So we need to understand that the idea that God is with me must not always listen. All the people we've described, none of them was in a Christian institution.
All of them, actually.
All.
Look at Pharaoh. Look at Nebuchadnezzar. Look at Jacob. In fact, Jacob's case is the worst. He took Laban took Jacob's wage downwards 10 times.
Listen, people never hear that thing.
Employer.
People never hear that statement. He says, for you have changed my wages 10 times. He didn't say you have improved them.
Not that he got promoted 10 times.
So some people are complaining in Corona that their wage was taken down.
Jacob went 10 times.
10 times.
Yes.
Yet, it is in that environment that he thrived. By the time he was leaving, when God said it was time to leave, the Bible says he robbed Laban. He left with more. Same thing with Egypt.
Oh, yes.
They left with more than anything they had ever done in their life in Egypt.
Yes.
And so, it was not their slavery earnings. It was God's movement.
It was God's movement.
Because
when they were living, it was not about how hard they had worked. This is always talking to us as business people. And this we've touched on the employees.
Yes.
That if you're connected to God, don't look at man. In a time of Corona, when everything is going down, looking unto God, you will be thriving.
Listen, when you're in that space, let me say something that people don't understand. There are scriptures we'll be looking at in this series where God warns the employer. Pay your people the right wages.
Yes.
James says, listen, the sound of your people, whom you have enriched yourself and have not paid, have reached God.
Yes.
In other words, you do you. Let the employer not pay you for your value.
Yes.
It will reach God.
Yes.
You do the best of you. Don't be like the man who said, you know, my people pretend to work, so I also pretend to pay them. This is not the issue.
Yes.
The issue is we need to be in an environment where whatever is in your hand, be as creative. Listen, forget how crazy that boss or supervisor is. Do not worry that they keep stealing the thunder from you. You know, there are some people who, you do all the things the supervisor presents it as it is theirs.
Yes.
The most important thing to you is that your creativity is producing.
So you are connected to the Father.
Yes.
When you're connected to the heavens, everything concerning you, they will come to a place like Daniel and say,
yes,
only the God of Daniel to be worshipped.
Absolutely.
Why? Because they have seen something inside of you. And of course, we are discussing three things. We are looking at the nature of Mammon. And we are saying that, one, that Mammon's intention is to control your heart, your love, and your loyalty.
Yes.
And you are saying that what is your heart attached to?
Simple.
God or Mammon? As a kingdom business person, ask yourself, these are questions you need to ask. Number two, that Mammon is looking for slaves. Are you a slave? What are you doing today? As a kingdom business person, you are praising God, but a slave unto Mammon. How, when you talk of love of money, is this also a root of all evil?
And you know, you can be a slave working for someone. You can be the owner who is a slave. Let me explain how that works. Your love for mammon and money is what is making you mistreat your workers. Profit being the bottom line is what is making you create an environment that is, and let me tell you, down the road it will diminish because their creativity is dying. Everything about their environment is dying in the name of your profit. So you wonder why. Sometimes it's one thing to say, you know me, I'm tired of hiring new people. I lose people all the time. Query. Is it people are bad? Or is it your love for money that is causing you to lose people?
And if your love for money, that means you're a slave to Mammon.
Exactly.
This is a slave employing slaves.
Simple.
A slave cannot run a slave.
Absolutely.
So who is your master? Because if God is your master, you will learn how to work as a son.
Exactly.
With sons under you, not slaves.
Absolutely.
So if you're a slave to Mammon, you are employing slaves. That's a company full of slaves.
That's it.
And the third thing we are saying that Mammon seeks to take the place of God in your life, to replace God. Now let's talk about that before we finish this.
That one is a serious one. Your famous statement. In your calendar day, when everything had to be prioritized, what suffered first? Mostly, it's something to do with the kingdom of God.
Oh, yes.
Mostly. And so when the way Mammon replaces God in your life is very clear in almost everything you do. In terms of when you're under pressure, what is your first point of call? Is it God or is it a solution? When there's a scenario in your life, what's the first thing you pursue? And this is a very subtle thing. You could even be sitting in a situation where you have a shortfall in finances. When you sit down to look at your balance book and you're looking for where money should come from, is your first thing, God, give me another idea? Is your first thing, God, open another door? What is the first thing you do? You pick up the phone and begin to call people. What does that tell you? What is the solution? What is the first person you talk to? Your bank manager.
So as a business person, you are saying that what are your options? When you come and find yourself in this scenario, what are your options? Is God your first option?
Exactly.
Most of us go to all our options. When they fail is when we go to God.
Exactly.
So most of the time, you know, when you talk of church, and talk of, church, people come for prayers. But most of those lines, when you see people being told how many people need prayers, no, these people come in, majority of them have reached their end. You have tried all options, now you're coming to God. Now we are saying, can God be your first and only option? Can you come to a place where as a business person, every time you walk into that office, your first and last option is God? There's no other option. Asking for ideas, for creativity, for finances, for door to open, you're going to God, not to man.
And let me tell you, the simplest and yet the most profound litmus test of who takes first place in your life is always found in your giving. And when I say giving, I'm not talking about offerings. I'm talking about your natural generosity. What is your first reaction to people? When the situation, what is your first thought if you're in a group of people? Is it natural for you to be the first to think about Oh, we're having lunch, I'll pay the bill. Simple things. Is it the first thing for you? Oh, somebody needs something, I'll sort it out. What is your first reaction always? Is your first psychological reaction is, hey, I've had that problem, but I also have problems. What's your first way of thinking?
Yes.
That can tell you what is your posture. When you don't have and somebody is in a strain, what is your first thought? If something comes into my hand, will I be able to?
To give.
To give.
Yes.
So those are the quick thoughts. And I would say the funny one always, whenever we are broke, we are generous.
Oh yes, I would have done it for you.
Yeah, somebody calls you and says,
I would have helped
I'm in
you.
this situation, you say, oh goodness, I have nothing. If I had,
I would have.
I would have. At that time, Mammon is quiet. When you're broke, Mammon does not interfere with your generosity.
Yes.
Mammon completely stays out of your radar.
Yes.
When was the last time when money came in, you called that person and said, by the way, you had called me the other day, you had a problem, do you still need help?
No.
How come that time we forget?
No.
Yet we had committed, we had said, if I had. Those are little things to tell us.
Notice what you are saying, that when Jesus said that you cannot serve two masters, you can't serve God and Mammon. You serve one, despise the other. Mammon being a master, that means Mammon has a voice. Mammon has a direction. Mammon has an intended end for your life. So you have to ask yourself, who controls my life? And you can only know by the way you treat money.
Yes.
Is money what directs your life, or is money under your feet? Those are the questions. As kingdom business person, we need to keep asking ourselves so that we can know our Mammon barometer.
Absolutely.
Have we dealt with Mammon and totally enthroned God in our lives as our master? That's what we're discussing about. This is Business Unusual. Keep tracking.